Eagles 13, Bengals 13, and I don't know what to say about a game like this. It just happens so rarely. You don't quite know how to react. So let's look at the game. And first of all, I don't know about this stuff about Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb and half the Eagles roster not knowing about ties. I think it's more funny than anything. I mean, think about it. On the last play of overtime, the Eagles ran a Hail Mary. They wouldn't have run that Hail Mary if they didn't know. So I think they're just screwing with people. But the fact that they threw that Hail Mary says a lot to me. But looking at this game, McNabb went for 340, completed 28 passes, but he had 30 incompletions and 3 picks, which is so not like him. He is usually really good at not turning it over. He had 4 today. Not like him at all. Westbrook, pretty much a non-factor, a very minor factor, 71 total yards of offense. They had some positive plays. Hank Baskett had a big play. Deshaun Jackson touched the ball a few times. Kevin Curtis had 7 catches. They were able to move the ball, but they couldn't score. They were turning it over. They were settling for field goals. Just no efficiency. Nothing working. I don't know. Other side, Bengals. Well, we know they're bad. It's not a surprise. Looking at this game, they fought hard and they played to a draw and nearly won at the end. Houshmandzadeh went off on the Eagles secondary that continues to play like crap in spite of making those hundreds of millions of dollars. Ryan Fitzpatrick protected the ball and played well. The defense came up with good pressure and came up with turnovers. The Eagles defense countered with great pressure of their own. And neither team deserved to win. I hate ties. I wish they took the tie rule out of the league, but neither team deserved to win this game. Okay, Vikings, Buccaneers. I don't really know a ton about what happened in this game. I know Peterson got off to a great start, and then the Bucs eliminated him like I thought they would. I mean, they are a smart defense. I trusted them to come up with the adjustments necessary, and they did. They pressured Gus Farrar with 5 sacks and numerous other pressures. They forced some key fumbles down the stretch that let them lock up the game. They did everything I expect a veteran defense like the Tampa Bay Bucs defense to do, pretty much. Really, that Vikings offense was going nowhere most of the game. On the other side, Garcia, very efficient. I think at some point in the first half he got the crap beaten out of him by a Vikings defensive tackle, and he came back with a vengeance because there wasn't much of a running game going, so he had to make other things work. He was, using Jeremy Stevens or Dunn, and these are guys that were pretty much thrown to the side by other teams. Antonio Bryant. Whoever he has to use, he can make it happen. And obviously, those fumbles at the end by Minnesota killed them. I think they had one on special teams, and somebody else had one. I can't remember who. Somebody else had a big fumble for the Vikings that really ended up hurting them. So, the Buccaneers, they're quietly 7-3. That record could be deceiving. They could be better than that. Could be worse than that. But all I know is you don't want to play them at home. Their defense is just about invincible at home. Colts Texans, good game, entertaining to watch, a lot of cool things to see. Manning back on track, 320 yards and a couple touchdowns, in spite of like 6 drops, easy drops by receivers throughout the game. Adai back to form, 100 carries and 100 yards and a touchdown. Rhodes contributing with 48 yards. Everybody chipping in the receiving game. Reggie Wayne with 90, Marvin Harrison with 77, Joseph Adai, Dallas Clark, Anthony Gonzalez. Everybody on this Colts offense was a part of it. The Texans got no sacks. They got very little pressure. The Colts ran the ball well. They passed the ball well. Just exactly the definition of a ideally run offense for the Colts. No turnovers and nothing but production. defensively, they gave up a lot. Steve Slayton had a big game. Rosenfels was efficient for most of the game. But Freeney came up with 2 sacks. One of them was right at the end and ended up being huge. Freeney has 4 sacks and has been gigantic in the past 2 games. You cannot quantify his contribution over the last 2 weeks. Bullitt came up with the game-ending interception again. He did that against Houston. He did that against Pittsburgh, and now he's done it against Houston again. It's in his blood. Not a lot of people know who he is, but I think he has 4 interceptions on the year, so that's a name. Houston side, obviously. Slayton, another huge game. He's on his way toward a 1,000-yard season. Amon Green back in the fold. He didn't do too well, but he got a couple touchdowns. Houston offense played well. They put up enough points to win most games, but not today. There are just some things that are not going to happen, but they played well. Atlanta, Denver. I watched most of this game, and my impression was Atlanta came into this game thinking they were going to win. That they just felt really good. They felt too confident in themselves and kind of assumed that the game would be given to them. That's what I saw. Early in the game, Michael Turner was ineffectual, and he ended up salvaging it a little bit near the end, but he was still a little inefficient. Matt Ryan usually is pretty much dominant when he's playing at home. He played well, but not up to his usual standard. He threw his first pick in Atlanta all season. Roddy White, this is going to bring up nightmares for you Falcons fans. He had like 4 drops in that game. He dropped the game-winning touchdown. He dropped 2 passes on the opening drive. He dropped everything. He had a good game, but he had a lot of big drops. So I just think Atlanta was a little lazy coming into this game. I don't know, that was just my impression. I think that they could have won this game and should have, but they were just too high on themselves. That's the impression I had. They didn't play poorly or anything, but this was a game. I would think they should win. Denver. Cutler, a little more conservative than usual, but played very well. Peyton Hillis stepping up when there are no running backs in the Denver backfield right now. He carried for a couple touchdowns, had some positive plays. Brandon Marshall, Eddie Royal, we know what these guys can do. You know what they do. Big plays, lots of catches, yards after the catch. Exactly what an offense wants. And, the Broncos defense, it didn't play great or anything, but it forced a big interception, and it held Atlanta to 20 points on the road. Right direction. I don't really have anything to say about Niners-Rams other than, the completely obvious that this game was not as close as the score suggests. It feels like the Niners won this game by like 50, really. I mean, the beginning of the game, they dominated so easily. Sean Hill was just about flawless, managing the game. Frank Gore had a very nice game, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Niners offense was conservative, but it played just about flawless until it became pretty much pointless, until it was a blowout. And, the Rams actually had 400 yards of offense. They moved the ball. Pittman had a surprisingly good game against a decent 49ers run defense. Pittman had a nice game. Bulger threw for like 300 yards, but they could not cash in. Bulger finally had a touchdown pass to Dane Looker near the end when, it was pretty much pointless, but, he had 2 big interceptions on the day. I think there was a missed field goal, some fumbles. I said I had nothing to say on this game, but there's always something to say about any game. And both these teams were 2-7 coming into this game. You never would have guessed it. You never would have guessed that both these teams were 2-7. Niners defense got great pressure on Bulger, forced some turnovers. Exactly what the doctor ordered. and Singletary got his first win. So basically, I'm waiting for him to pull out the Buffalo Bill dance from Silence of the Lambs in the locker room, you know?